All right, Canada, are we feeling good? Are we breathing a sigh of relief? A full 3 points for the Canadians at the World Cup with their 2-1 victory over Ireland. Welcome on into Soccer North. This is the Reaction Show. I'm your host, Andi Petrillo. I have some great guests coming up. But yes, first this game. Okay, fine. Listen, I get it. It was a little dicey. The Canadians giving up a goal in the 4th minute. That was the first ever goal by Ireland at the World Cup. Katie McCabe scoring that beautiful Olympico. That's when the ball goes straight into goal off a corner. You have to give the Irish credit. That was a beauty. But the Canadians, they regroup. They get a late goal in that first half. Okay, it was an own goal, but they created it. And then Adriana Leon with the go-ahead goal in the 53rd minute. So right now, the Canadians, they top the group over Australia, who has 3 points, Nigeria with 1, Ireland still searching for their first ever point at the World Cup, but they do get their first ever goal. But the Canadians put themselves now in a great position heading into that final group game against Australia. Coming up, 2-time Olympic medalist, former national team player Diana Matheson will get her reaction to this win. We also have a crossover guest. She's a world silver medalist, beach volleyball player Sophie Bukovic, but she has strong ties to the Canadian women's national team. We caught up with her because today, by the way, also marks 1 year out to the Paris Olympics. And women's footy analyst Miriam Kurabi joins the show for more reaction. She has a podcast YouTube channel called She Scores Bangers. I love it because that's exactly what Adriana Leon did. You know who else scored some bangers? That would be our good friend Diana Matheson, who, by the way, the last time Canada played Ireland in that friendly 2014, you scored a goal. It was a 2-1 victory for the Canadians. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks. Great to see you. A little embarrassed I wore green today, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, you know what? These are the things that, as the veteran broadcaster, I should have been a little bit more aware of too, although I'm going to go with this is turquoise. This is turquoise, my friend. I'm not going to go quite green, but it's okay. Sometimes it's the color that brings out our eyes, and right now the eyes are shining brightly because we're feeling good. We were calling this a must-win game for Canada because even if they got a point, they put themselves in a pretty sticky situation going into that final group stage game against the home nation with only 2 points. But, Dee, they get the full 3. How much does this matter?
Yeah, it's huge. Going into the game with 4 points, obviously, versus 2 or 1 is completely different. Australia, either way, is going to be a massive game, especially against that home crowd. I think we know every game in this group of death has been a ton of pressure. Opening game, always so much pressure. Against Ireland, I think the idea of this underdog playing fearless, who's going to come in with this physicality, that's hard to go into as well. And then, of course, the hometown heroes are up next. So I think having those 4 points is huge. And I think the second half is something they're going to take a lot of positives out of.
Yeah, what did you see change with the Canadians from that first half to the second?
They aged a bit, didn't they? I think they brought on like 300 caps, and I think Sink and Sophie had been patiently waiting in the first half, and then came on and made a statement. Sink got on the ball early, got the ball to Haidema, created a chance early, and you could tell it had changed already. And then what can you say about Sophie Schmidt? I think she's had a journey with Bev. Bev didn't start her early on when Bev came into the team, and Sophie's just quietly been plugging away professionally. She's been having an incredible year again in Houston, and she's still doing it on the international stage. And what a difference she made, and what a goal. And she likes to score against the Republic of Ireland, as we've seen.
Well, and she also said this is going to be her final World Cup, so she wants to make an impact. And that's exactly what those substitutions did. And Bev Priestman has never been shy to say that she wants to be a coach known for making crucial substitutions, quick when it needs to be, doesn't want to sit back and be criticized of like, you were too late on that. We saw that in that Olympic gold medal game. She brought out Janine Becky, she brought out Quinn, and she had substituted in Leon and Grosso, and we all know how that final game went in Tokyo. Now here, in a very crucial match, she was quick again at the half to make substitutions. She made 3. Now, Kadisha Buchanan, that was probably an illness thing, as we know, but Shalina Zadorsky comes on in. Sophie Schmidt, Christine St. Clair, they come in as well for Evelyn Vienne. So Evelyn Vienne comes out, and Shalina Zadorsky goes in. So many substitutions were happening in this one. How much does that matter as well to a team when you have a manager who's bold that way and who isn't afraid to make those changes?
Yeah, I love Bev subs, and I think I love them because they're always a bit unpredictable to me. They're never necessarily the ones I would make. And like you said, going back to Tokyo, I think there were so many times watching at home, I was going, oh, wouldn't have done that. And then 5 minutes later, that player is making an impact. So she's got a knack for it. I think it's a strength. Hopefully Quiche too. I mean, her coming off for sure could be illness. I think it doesn't hurt too, her resting 45 with a yellow. We've got a couple center backs with a yellow card, which we know play a huge part in a tournament. And then how about Chloe Lacasse? I mean, just being one of the Canadians in top form out there. And I think another example of a really impactful sub for Canada.
Yeah, so I was trying to spit out that it was Grosso who also came out of the match and Sophie Schmidt went on there. I do have to give a little bit of love to Katie McCabe's goal for Ireland, scoring that Olympico. Kaylin Sheridan completely outstretched, trying to stop it. So yes, maybe we could talk about the beauty of the goal, but also did you have an uh-oh moment?
Yeah, I mean, we all probably did in Canada. I think obviously not the start we wanted, especially against a team that was so up for it. And I think, I mean, McCabe scoring the goal was just so fitting for Ireland. I think for everyone, I think the world's going to be disappointed not to see them progress because I think they're a fun team to watch and in their first World Cup. I think either way, they've made a difference at home. They're another one of these countries who hasn't been there in the past, where maybe there hasn't been the support for women's football. And now they're on the world stage. It's there. And I know for a fact people in Ireland are talking about this team. So I think they've moved the needle. And what a leader and what a player she is. What a fullback. One of the best in the world for sure.
How do you bounce back from that? We did see after the goal, the Canadians quickly huddled. Don't know what was said. Maybe in the press conference, they'll shed a little bit of light on that. It did look like they were a little shell-shocked. It's one thing to give up a goal. It's another when it's so early, D. And it's another when it's like completely beautiful and leaves you stunned. How do you regroup?
Yeah, they did the huddle. I would say it didn't quite work. We spent the rest of the half still not really looking like we fully rebounded, I think. Unfortunately. And of course, I think it was in a Fleming interview we've seen already, it takes getting into form throughout the tournament and it takes a bit of luck. And we got that at the end of the half. And then, it took halftime, whatever Bev said at halftime and some subs to actually hit that next gear. But yeah, the goal and I think the pressure, whatever it was, we couldn't seem to find our footing in that first half.
All right, they have one more group stage game to go. Can't take advantage of it whatsoever against Australia. What do you think should be, other than the obvious, which is, of course, go out and win, what do you think the game plan should be, even from a player personnel perspective? What do you think the messaging is?
Well, as I said, I have no ability to predict Bev's lineups or subs, but I think Lacasse has certainly done enough to earn a starting spot out there. It was great to see Jessie back in the lineup. I think Sophie Schmidt's made a case to get some more minutes, certainly. And against Australia, we know it's going to be a crowd. We know it's going to be loud. I think, knock on wood, Canada has a pretty good track record of playing against Australia and doing well. And then I think the other thing to consider, absolutely, which we mentioned already, is yellow cards and who's on how many yellows, because obviously that plays a huge impact in tournament football.
Before I let you go, I do need an update on Caddy. How is, literally that is the name of your cat, right? Caddy?
Yes.
How is she doing? We understand she's was
great.
spayed.
Thanks for asking. Yep, she's spayed, so I got to watch the game from home to take care of her. She's great. She's a big Canadian women's footy fan, so yes. The game really lifted her spirits.
Okay, see, as long as Caddy is feeling better, then the Canadians need to continue winning. Dee, appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Today officially marks 1 year out from the 2024 Paris Olympics, and I had a chance to catch up with three-time national beach volleyball champion Sophie Bukovic. But hey, guess what? She has way more connections to the women's soccer team than you think. Sophie, not many people know this, but you grew up playing with Ashley Lawrence and Quinn. Could you have foreseen them being where they are today?
Absolutely. They were kind of staple athletes on my provincial team, which is where I had the pleasure of playing with both of them. They were the most fierce competitors on our team. Very, very technically sound. Of course, they know the game of soccer so well, but there was a little fire in their eyes, and it's definitely helped them achieve as much success as they both have had in their careers thus far. So it was early that you could tell that they would be very successful.
Now, what position did you play growing up?
I was a center defender. I was a center back, so I played just behind Ashley and Quinn. At the time, they were both center mids. So, yeah, and then fortunate enough, I was playing directly in front of my twin sister, who was a goalkeeper. So it was really fun overall to be able to play with such diverse groups of people, and it was really something special.
1 year to go to Paris. What does your path to Olympic qualification look like next year?
The beach volleyball circuit takes your best 12 events from this past January until next June, and it'll qualify the top 24 teams. And then it'll also qualify 8 teams through the continent. So if you don't qualify through the top 24, you can go through what's called NORCECA, which is our version of CONCACAF for soccer fans out there, to qualify yourself for the Olympic Games.
What would it mean to you to represent Canada at the Olympics?
Oh my goodness, it would be a dream. I feel like all of the things that you work so hard for in your youth, in your adolescence, and now into my adult career, kind of leads up into the Olympic Games. So it would be amazing to be able to see all of the hard work come to the Olympic Games qualification.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you so much, Andi. Thank you.
Speaking of Olympic qualifications, Canada will be eager to punch their ticket and secure qualification for Paris. The reigning Olympic champs are set to face Jamaica in a compelling home and away qualification fixture. The second leg will be hosted right here on Canadian soil. That's at BMO Field on Tuesday, September 26th. Let's welcome to the show now, and I love this title, She Scores Bangers. That is Miriam Kurabi. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for complimenting the Bangers name. We see a lot of them in the women's game, so it felt very suited.
Yeah, well, I was saying, I remember that little league player from baseball. He's like, I like to hit dingers. And I said, yes, I love when we use this vernacular from the sport. She scores bangers. By the way, we saw that with Adriana Leon. Why don't we talk about that goal first? Because we know one thing, Miriam, that the Canadians have been criticized for, of course, is the lack of offense and the inability to also score from open play. So when you saw Adriana Leon score that goal, great pass from Sophie Schmidt, what did you see break down that led to the goal?
Well, I think Quinn has been crucial since the opening game against Nigeria, and even this game, some really important recoveries, duels being won, and just kind of sticking their leg in there. We know Quinn can get very gritty in the middle, which is exactly what Canada needed this game. So it was really Quinn applying that pressure, making sure they can get the ball with them to get it on to Schmidt, who then really quickly connects it to Leon. So Schmidt, a major kind of energy that she brought on the field right away. Quinn connecting right away with Schmidt, laying it off to Leon, who was making a beautiful run, spotting that space between the center backs, and just it takes one shot, one chance to put it in the back of the net, and I think Leon finished it beautifully.
How much do you think, yes, it's called an own goal at the end of that first half that equalized for Canada, but how much do you think that also shifted things, just shifted the energy for the Canadians, who pretty much looked shell-shocked after that fourth-minute goal by Ireland?
I think we all looked shell-shocked for sure. But it was important for Canada to make something out of the possession that they had. We saw Heidema, who I thought had a great game, really enjoy herself on the flank. So making sure that Heidema was able to be productive moving forward, just throwing balls into the box. And we saw it got a little rainy, a little windy. As a Vancouver native herself, she probably knows the balls going into the box under circumstances like this can get a little bit messy. So for them, it was important just to get the ball moving forward, get it messy in the box, and all of a sudden you get to see an own goal, which sure, it could be an own goal, but you can get an own goal if you don't get the ball into the box. So for Canada, it was important momentum, and I think it came at a very great time right before the half, where they kind of regrouped going into the changing room with a little bit on a higher confidence, because they weren't down anymore. They were actually level, and it was all to play for in that second half.
You know, heading into the game, the two big storylines, of course, were Jessie Fleming back in the lineup, but also for the first time in 6 World Cups, Christine Sinclair wasn't starting. Were you surprised by Sinclair being on the bench?
Certainly surprised, but I think just like Diana earlier mentioned, it's always hard to predict what Bev Priestman comes out with. And maybe this was a very much planned substitution. Obviously, we saw how important she was coming in as a substitute in the second half. But am I surprised? I think we have had a big conversation of what Christine Sinclair's role is now at her 6th World Cup. It's kind of maybe passing on that torch to the younger players of the likes of Jessie Fleming and Grosso, who both started, probably stealing one of her spots. But for Sinclair, I think it's kind of now where she's able to come in as an impact substitute and allow the likes of Sophie Schmidt to do her role in the midfield and Quinn behind them. So I think for Sinclair, it's going to be a different role this entire World Cup, but one that is going to be impactful regardless of what it is on or off the pitch.
Yeah, Bev Priestman definitely keeps us guessing. But if you were going to make a lineup change, and not that I'm trying to put anything in your, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, would you start Chloe Lacasse?
I think we do need some Chloe Lacasse energy from the get-go. Something that we saw against Nigeria is that when she came on in the 45th minute, it was energy right away. And we did see that energy again in the 45th minute. But for Canada, especially in a game against Australia, that energy needs to get from minute one. We can't go down, or Canada can't go down in the 4th minute. Canada cannot concede in the opening 15 to 20 minutes because that initial start of the game is massive and really, really important. And what Chloe Lacasse brings is a ton of energy. You saw her cut into the box multiple times. She does that beautifully. And I think Australia, they have very tricky fullbacks with the likes of Ellie Carpenter. So deploying Chloe Lacasse early, making some energy on the flanks is going to be important. Her combining with Haitama on both flanks, I think is a very, very fun idea that I'd love to see them start with against Australia.
All right, one more group stage game to go. Miriam, appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Australia, the formidable foe awaiting Canada, is no ordinary team. They not only co-host the World Cup, but bring an electrifying and captivating play to the field. Under the visionary coaching of Tony Gustafsson, they unleash an unyielding attacking force, coupled with relentless high pressing. Leading the charge is the dynamic goal-scoring machine, Sam Kerr, who leaves opponents stunned with her prowess. During the last World Cup, Kerr's scoring spree left a mark, bagging an impressive 5 goals in 4 games. Since then, she has continued her goal-scoring spree, dominating the Women's Super League. Though concerns linger around Kerr's fitness, this Australian squad has demonstrated their resilience, capable of pulling off impressive results even without their star player. While Canada has bested Australia in previous encounters, the World Cup is the ultimate stage. The girls in red and white will have to be at their absolute best if they want to pull off a win against the Aussies. A reminder, after this win, Canada now tops the group with 4 points. Australia and Nigeria will play tomorrow at 6 a.m. ET. We'll see how those results go, but either way, at least Canadians have put themselves in a much better position in that final group game against the host nation, Australia. We were all calling this game against Ireland must win because they needed to go in with the 4 points to really give themselves a realistic chance of advancing out of the group. So that next game will go on Monday, July 31st. And of course, we will be up once again with our reaction show on CBC Gem, CBC Sports YouTube channel, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Yes, it's an early one, Canada, but it's never too early to cheer on your team. Thanks so much to the guests, Diana Matheson and Miriam as well from She Scores Bangers. You always want to follow these great journalists who are covering the women's game, giving them the exposure that they deserve. And we appreciate you tuning into this reaction show right here on CBC. I'm Andi Petrillo. Thanks for tuning in to Soccer North.